Every company needs to have in place policies, practices, and procedures. It's the way you do things in your organization. Today, we're going to analyze what the terms really mean in a practical sense and what you can do to ensure you're using the best policies, practices, and procedures to be successful. And to do this, I welcome a frequent guest, Chuck Violand, founder of Violand Management Associates. Chuck, always a pleasure.
Jeff, it's always a pleasure for me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Another conversation about forging dynasty businesses. And Chuck, this chapter 9, policies, procedures, and practices.
Yep.
I tell you, Chuck, when I ran my business, I needed this chapter. So I look forward to what you're going to say. Run through the definitions to start out, though, because I think that might help our conversation.
Oh, yeah. The policies, practices, and procedures. You just can't beat a little alliteration to make things sound so simple. So let's go in and see what each one of these are. First, policies are the written rules for behavior, attire, and all the laws and regulations that apply to the workplace. They cover topics from paid time off to discipline, safety, a drug-free workplace, and employee benefits. Practices are what you actually do. They may not be in writing, but when you respond to a certain situation the same way over and over, it defines a policy or an expectation. Now, here's the kicker, Jeff. Okay, when a practice is inconsistent with what's in writing, the practice is actually what counts from a legal perspective. And then we come to procedures. Now, procedures are the written instructions of how your services are provided or how specific tasks are completed. Think in terms of written step-by-step instructions, videos, documents, forms, templates, that kind of thing.
Well, Chuck, that makes sense. Now I have to ask, some might say this is over-formalizing a company. It could lose its personality. What do you think about that? Does that really play in this?
Yeah, well, that sounds like an entrepreneur speaking, Jeff. And yes and no is my answer. In the early stages of your company, these don't play as big a role as when your company is larger. After all, when it's just the owner or the owner and a handful of people, the owner is there either doing the actual work or showing the people how to do it. They're on site to perform instant quality control and to manage efficiencies. Now, as the company grows, things get more complex. The owner is further removed from the frontline action, so the need for documented policies and procedures increases because the owner isn't there to oversee everything. So, do I think that this can over-formalize a company? Yeah, if it's taken too far, I think it can. Taking systemization to an extreme where the goal is to make people interchangeable parts of a company's systems is a mistake. But that's really pretty rare. Now, do I think it can cause a company to lose its personality? Yeah, I think it can cause companies to change their personalities, but this isn't necessarily bad. The old days in a business when you were hip shooting decisions and management was by mood-driven decisions, they're behind you now. What that documented policies and procedures provide, though, is a company that can attract higher caliber people to help the owner run the company. And that, in turn, delivers a company that's run by the owner rather than the owner being run by the company.
All right, Chuck. So a company may have different departments and divisions. Obviously, the bigger the company, the more complex it is. How can you write policies, practices, and procedures? There they are, the 3 Ps, to fit all of those.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's tough, okay? First of all, it's an ongoing process. And because things are always changing within an organization, the process never ends. So the first thing is don't try to do this yourself. Entrepreneurs and business owners are usually not hardwired, or they don't have as much time because they have more pressing issues, more pressing demands to take the time to write all the procedures. Now, find someone or someones in your organization who are hardwired to do this type of work. Detailed, linear thinking work. If you're familiar with the DISC scale, you're probably looking for people who are high S's or high C's. Your job as the owner is to direct these people in the work that they're doing and to support them as they engage in this time-consuming work.
Well, that's good stuff, Chuck. Appreciate that. Now, earlier you said the word legal at least one time. Legal. So let's talk about that. Having these in place, these 3 Ps, policies, practices, procedures, how does that protect a company?
Well, I am not an attorney, Jeff, and no policy is airtight from a legal challenge. But having policies and procedures documented and then followed will help ensure that all your people are treated with fairness and consistency. This in turn helps foster a culture of trust throughout the organization, a culture where people are more inclined to voice their concerns to their manager first before they seek a legal remedy. Now, if you have documented policies and procedures, and again, if you follow them, you have a much better chance of surviving a legal challenge than just telling a judge, oh, this is the way we always did it here, or simply claiming ignorance. That's just not going to work.
That's how we've always done it here, Chuck. I mean, I love that because that's a common excuse. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I think we covered this nicely. Let's talk about those watching are determined to do this. They're listening to you, Chuck. They're like, we need to do this. Any words of advice on how to get started? And to be honest, what challenges are they going to face as they do this?
Several, Jeff, actually. Look, if you're just getting started, the best place to begin is with the policies you apply with recruiting, hiring, and employing your people. This includes your employee handbook and employee policy documents. But look, again, don't try to do this on your own. The world of HR is too complex to navigate without the assistance of somebody with extensive HR experience. So if you don't have someone within your organization with these credentials, then get help from a trusted outside source. After that, I would look for areas where customer service and internal processes are suffering and resulting in customer complaints, redos, or quality issues. And then finally, I would also look for areas where profitability, cost overruns, or productivity are suffering. These might point to ineffective systems documentation, incomplete training, or just poor communication. The red flags in these areas usually show up pretty clearly and pretty early.
Well, Chuck, thank you for this today. Let's end with this. Any final words of advice you have for your fellow entrepreneurs watching this program?
Yeah, actually, I do, Jeff. Running a business is a balancing act, right? The owner is constantly balancing the demands that are being placed on their time. And those demands are constantly shifting. Now, some are moving up in priority, some are moving down. Documenting your company's policies and procedures is really easy to push to the bottom of that priority list until something happens. And that something is usually not good. So be sure to enlist the help of someone to help you write them. Don't try to do this on your own. And don't break the bank over focusing on writing procedures while you ignore the need to earn a profit in the company.